Good afternoon. George Hepworth, Grover Park Consulting. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be able to use artificial intelligence in one of your own applications? I'm not talking about Microsoft's new Copilot or ChatGPT. I'm talking about artificial intelligence that you create yourself and embed into an application. I'm going to show you how I did that for the very first time ever in a Power Apps app. Let's get started. This all got started the other day when I was thinking of how can I improve my new shopping list application. A lot of it is manual entry, but it would be really nice, I thought, if I could just take a picture of one of the receipts that I came home from the store with and have that match up with the data that I enter through the Power Apps application manually. So I started poking around, and pretty soon I noticed Power Apps offers AI models, and I wondered, well, maybe that's where I'll find it. And sure enough, as soon as I got here and clicked on the AI models option in the navigation pane, I always call this the navigation pane, force a habit from Access days. I've already created my model here, but once I got here, all I had to do was click on New AI Model and follow the prompts. I realized there's one right there that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I started with that, and the result is this AI model, which reads information from scanned receipts and allows me to store that in my database along with the typed information that I entered through the keyboard on the smartphone or on the laptop. Let's quickly walk through this. I won't create a new one. I'll just show you how this one works. I showed you that you click on the add icon. However, instead of creating a new one, I'm just going to edit the existing one. So we will not click on the add icon. We'll go down and click on the name of the existing AI model, which I called Standard Receipts. This will open it in edit mode. We can start to look at it the way it works and run a quick test on training. I have an open draft. I've been working on this, so I'll just edit the existing draft. Notice that there is a step-by-step guide here on the left that takes me through all of the steps that I need to follow to set up, define, and train my new AI model. I'm going to use structured documents because my store receipts are always the same. Now, I say they're always the same from the same store. There are two basic types from Walmart and Safeway, but within the Safeway set, they're all the same. So we can call them structured documents. And then we'll go to the next step. I have already indicated what values I want from that receipt. And you simply click the Add button to insert a field, a checkbox, or a table. And I'll explain that as we get into the details here. The merchant name is printed on the store receipt. Most receipts do have a shopping date somewhere on them. Most receipts have a subtotal. Not all do. In the state of Washington, where I live, we do not have a tax on food. So sometimes the receipt will have no tax. If I purchase non-food items, there will be a tax amount. Then, of course, the total is the sum of the subtotal and tax, if any. They will all have a total. Most have a subtotal. Some have a tax. Then the items purchased, and that is a table rather than a single field. In that table, I'm looking for three pieces of information: the item name, the item price, and the quantity purchased. As it turns out, item quantity is seldom on receipts. The next thing is to insert documents to train it on. You can see I've added 6. And that just, those documents come from just taking a picture of a receipt and storing it into OneDrive where I can get it. Notice that they want at least 5 sample documents. I added 6, which is 2 versions of each. This is the difficult part, and where I skipped the first time. The second time through, I realized I had needed to be much more careful, much more precise in identifying the fields that I wanted. Merchant name. This one has a date at the bottom. A subtotal, a tax amount, and a total amount. Within the table itself, when I hover over it, you see that there are different areas within this block of text that are relevant to what I want and areas that are not. The way you do that is by starting with this grid, and you drop the grid lines in and then drag them to divide the areas of this block to include or exclude characters that you want. Notice here, this denotes non-food items or taxable items. I'm not interested in that for my purposes, so I don't designate it as anything that I'm interested in. This one I am interested in, and it is my item price here. I'm not interested in this. I suppose if I were to devote a great deal of time and effort to figuring out what these codes are, I could probably use them in some way, but that's not relevant to my purposes here. And of course, the item name, they use these obscure acronyms and abbreviations, but if I'm looking at the receipt after just getting home from the store, I should know what I just bought 20 minutes ago. Notice that this one is a little bit problematic because it's slightly skewed. So getting the item price completely in the cell in that grid means that the item name is slightly out of the area. This is where it took quite a bit of trial and error to get those lines placed where they will be effective on the majority of receipts. And this will take some adjustment or slightly down. And I'm going to put that back where I found it. Click to draw rows or control click to draw columns. The advanced tagging mode allows you to go in and more precisely adjust these items. I found that as the final check, this is really good, but I did not try to use it in actually defining the text areas. Once we get it done, we go on to the next document, do the same thing. Merchant name, purchase shopping date. This one has a tax item of 0, a total balance of $70.29, and no subtotal because these are all non-taxable food items. In my table, did the same thing again, drew my grid lines to include the elements that I want, exclude the other elements. I think down the road, if I get a little more inventory buildup of receipts to work with, I might try to parse these lines, but those strike me as being a little bit harder to get at accurately, plus it's not really relevant to what I'm doing. So again, click on the table, you can see where the fields are, and they look like they are appropriate. Move on to the next one. Continue this pattern until you get through analyzing all of the documents in your sample set. And as the instructions say, the more the better. Now I can train it. And by training, what happens is it looks at each of those 6 documents or 20 documents or however many documents you have and tries to identify information based on what you just told it you want and predict what, based on what it's found, what values are going to be available. As you can see, I get about a 69% accuracy, and that mostly has to do with here. Item quantity is missing. I think I would like that, but if I can't find it in a sufficient number of receipts, then I can probably improve my accuracy by not looking for it anymore. At this point, I have an AI model ready to use. I'm going to stop and switch over, and I'll be right back. Oh, that didn't take as long as I thought. So it's ready to publish. So the newest version that I just trained, I didn't change my percentage score, so I don't think it got anything more than it got last time. But I'll go ahead and publish it and make sure that this is the version that I'm now using, because that's important when I get back to the Power Apps. I'm going to close this up now. We have we have the updated model, retrained, ready to use. We can go back to our Power Apps applications, and I will show you how I integrated this new AI model into the shopping list, the shopping cart, shopping list application that we previously built and showed you as a sample. I'll just quickly open it here. When the app opens, you can see that on our start screen we have a new menu item called Scan Receipt, and we have a new screen called Standard Receipt, which is ready to go with our new form processing AI model. I'll very quickly demo it in action, and then in our next video explain how it all works. I'll pick one of my training documents that I used to set up the original training. We'll let it process. As you can see, the control first displays the image that it captured or recovered, in this case, from the hard drive. And now it's running the process. You can see the little circle indicating that it's processing the values that it's finding on that document. And then it displays them. It found the name of the merchant, the date, subtotal, tax, and total, items, and the prices for those items. Quantity is not available on most of these things. I probably will end up dropping that from the final version because it just is irrelevant. The final step is I'm going to save this information into a new table that I created in the database. It is a temporary table like we showed you for current shopping. This will be current receipts. And it will be a temporary table that I can then use to import this information back into my Access front end. Click the button to save it, pushes the data back to the database, and we're done. In video 2, I will show you how this part of the process works. If you like what you've seen, and if you're excited about the possibility of learning more about AI in particular and AI models, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a note in the comments. I'll see you in a couple of days.